This podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not intended to provide medical advice. It exists to entertain and to inform.
Meanwhile, at the Boar Historians podcast studio.
So that's when I said, look at that escargot. You know, like this, the car had an S, the snail, like it's snake because you say it together.
Max, are you stealing material from Trading Places?
I don't know. I'm so sorry. This is what comes into my head, and I don't know why.
No. It was funny. It was funny. It really was.
It's not even my joke. I mean, it's just sad. Hey, Mike. What is all this?
Hey guys, so I was researching today's episode. I found some stuff that helps explain the story a bit.
You have props?
Well, kind of. All of these things have to do with today's story.
Okay. There's a bottle labeled wood alcohol over here on my desk. It's next to a bottle of antifreeze. There's a garden hose and a tray of oysters next to that.
There's a bunch of chemicals on my desk along with a lot of alcohol. Is this a sardine sandwich on my chair?
I ran out of room and I didn't want to put the thumbtacks on your chair, Alba.
What now?
Mike, what are you doing? I don't love having a mixture of poisons and sharp objects sitting around the studio. Isn't there a more sane way that you can compose your episodes?
Yeah, probably, but I will explain everything. Everything here has to do with today's story.
Are you talking about Rasputin?
Yeah, we're pretty close. We're talking about Irish Rasputin.
Hey, Mike, is this just, regular non-poisonous coffee in the coffee pot?
I wouldn't recommend eating or drinking anything in the studio today, just to be sure.
Hey, Mike?
Yep.
Can we have a no bottles of poison policy in the studio from now on?
I'm not completely ready to commit to that.
But why are there thumbtacks?
Patience!
Sure. Okay. We're going to start the show. Welcome, everyone. This is Poor Historians, a podcast misadventuring into the archives of medical history and beyond. I'm Dr. Max, and I'm joined here by my good friends and colleagues, well, Dr. Aaron.
Hi.
Oh, no.
I sound just like Aaron. Listen to me. I'm so smart. I've got gray hair. I'm distinguished appearing. Oh, Aaron's my name.
Oh, Aaron, when'd you get here? I didn't think you were coming.
I've been here the whole time. I was just sitting back in my pile of laundry, doing podcast stuff.
I'm so glad you could make it.
Oh, me too. I didn't think I was going to be able to, but I did. I flew in from New York, and boy, are my arms tired.
Aaron's not here today. But you know who is here? Dr. Mike. Hi, Dr. Mike.
Hi.
Delightfully weird. Anyway, the other... how do I come back from that?
You can't, Max.
Oh,
that's
God.
it. Not advice. Have fun. See you next time.
I enjoy that. Okay. And we are also joined by our medical history intern, Alba. Hi, Alba.
Oh, hey, that's me.
Did you know I found a fun fact about your name, Alba?
Oh, yeah?
If you spell Alba's name backwards, it's Abla. You ever realize that?
What?
Super weird, right?
Abla? I love it. That's what I'm going to go by from now on.
Ooh, your
Abla.
nickname. Yeah, you could be Abla Cadabla.
I've had many, many, many nicknames throughout my lifetime, and Abla is one of them.
Is it one of the most G-rated ones?
Yes.
We'll talk about the other ones on probably the patron part of this show. But for right now, we need to get on to the next segment, and that is to say thank you to one of our patrons. So we do have a new member of our Poor Historians Pod Medical History House of Medicine, and that is Whitney. Whitney has joined us at the medical history resident level, and that means we have to say thank you. And by we, I mean put Alba up to the task. She's better at it, and we always like to do this in a fun way and give Alba a nice acting prompt. So Alba, do you think you could thank Whitney as if you were Liam Neeson doing one of his classic, like, I will find you threatening speeches to like bring back his daughter in like every movie he's ever done? Do you think you could do that?
And okay. I I don't know how to do the voice, but I'm gonna just go for it.
Sound just like a very stern grandpa.
Whitney, I hear you're a medical history resident level member. I have a very special set of skills, and I will find you, Whitney. And I will take what is mine, which is a handshake and perhaps a high five for supporting us through our podcast endeavors.
That's threatening and welcoming at the same time. Whitney, thank you very much. And if you out there do appreciate our humble show and want to count yourself among the super fans, we invite you to check out the Patreon page at patreon.com/Port Historians Podcast, or go to the link in the show notes and just click that. You can get access to episodes early, an occasional bonus episode, and converse with us and other members of the PHPod community. And all those proceeds do go right back into production of the show and all that sort of thing. Enough of that. Let's give out some non-medical opinions. So it's time to warm up our brain meats before we get to the main part of the show.
Did you say brain meats?
I did. I mean, it's a true statement. It may not
I'm
be
keeping that one. I like it.
Yeah, it's not how a neurosurgeon. Well, I don't know. There might be.
Well,
neurosurgeons
okay,
out
yeah.
there.
So, like, thinking is really beating your brain meat.
Yeah. All I do is beat my brain meat.
I have to leave that. Listener, I don't know how to recover from some of these. I know. Yeah.
It's because we're smart. We're thinking all
is.
the time.
This is the non-medical opinion segment. And since we don't give medical advice on the show, we figured we'd just do the next best thing and use our medical and medical adjacent knowledge to give a lucky listener the best pearls of wisdom on a topic that doesn't really have to do with medicine. So if you guys are ready, we have a question from Madison today. Alba, what do we got?
Oh, I'm so excited for this one. Madison asks, in your opinions, if you were to speculate on which medical specialties would be best at a given Olympic event, what sport would you pair with which specialists?
Ooh, I did like this question. I
That's
know
a
the
really good
Olympics are
question.
over by the time you're listening to this, but I don't care. We're still doing it. We're still doing it, Madison. We're going to do it for you. What do you think? So I think, okay, it's probably easiest to pick the specialty and then fit the event, maybe, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the way I would think about this.
There's some pretty straightforward pairings, I think.
Okay, go for it.
Oh, yeah. Tell us.
So
What?
I think shooting and radiology, because they put those stupid things over their eyes and are constantly just like looking through the screen. They have a
Not
lot
the
of
guy
screen
from
time.
Turkey. The guy from Turkey just showed up with a gun.
Yeah, right? But he got
That
the
is
silver medal.
awesome.
Yeah, I heard that he didn't win gold because he didn't want everyone to know he was a hitman.
There you go. That's probably true.
I believe that.
But yeah, the hand in the pocket, both eyes open, just like, you know what? I'm just having fun this weekend.
Did not care.
All right, fair enough. Who do you think, who's family medicine?
The modern pentathlon.
Okay, just like
Was-
varied skills, a lot of things
Yeah.
going on.
Did you watch the swimming part in the modern pentathlon
No.
or the heptathlon for the women? The pool is like a regular backyard pool.
Wait, like a
And
kiddie
there-
pool?
Yeah, there's no like stop time. There's people with stopwatches. It's like there's 10 people at the pool watching. It's at some vineyard and they're swimming back and forth. And I swear to God, like maybe some of us would be able to beat them. I don't know.
Oh,
But maybe them because they are like good at everything, but not great at any one thing.
oof. All right, fair. And then what about like dermatology? What's dermatology doing? That's a tough one. Like, what's rashy? What's a rashy Olympic sport?
Well, swimming probably.
Yeah,
Any
good
swimming
point.
thing.
Yeah, it's probably
Anything in the sun.
okay.
Surfing, they wear rash
there you go.
guards.
Okay, so then fair. All right, surfing, dermatology. You have surfing. What does emergency medicine have?
Do they have skydiving? in the Olympics?
No, what's the most
We'd
extreme?
probably
though?
breakdancing because nobody really cares about us and everybody is on us. And even when we do really well, people hate it.
It's true though. It really is.
We're the Australian breakdancing team. That is
That poor woman. I don't know if she was an
what
Olympic level
happened there?
break dancer, but I don't know that it was a thing before these Olympics, so I don't think that's even a fair classification. I don't know. I don't know. I like that we haven't named ortho in anything. I feel like ortho, the
It's
problem
too
is you want to
easy.
put them in everything. Yeah,
Mhm.
so we got to give them something that's like not that easy. What's not that easy for ortho?
Ortho. Ortho.
I feel like it's hammer throw. I mean,
Yeah, but that's
it's
like
still
kind of what
physical.
they do. Yeah, so that would be their thing.
You want to just make them awkward and just put them in like synchronized swimming or something?
They're
not gonna
hammer
do that.
throw. You don't.
All
Yeah.
right, fine. Ortho, you can throw some hammers, and I think it's a callback, but probably the most obvious one is urology on the pole vault. Just I'm gonna go to that well twice.
Yeah, that is funny.
Good. That was.
All right. Well,
Alba liked that one.
I like that one. I was expecting y'all to say something about the endurance with the emergency medicine. One of the endurance ones of like, because it seems to me like that work takes.
Oh no, that would be the last thing for us. Like endurance is like working 24-hour shifts in like surgery or something. We are more sprinters. We're gonna like get in there, do the event, go as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, and then go crash and eat a bunch of carbs.
Yeah, if we were going to be running, it would be like the 400-meter hurdles, and we wouldn't want to win. We wouldn't want to come in last. We would just pace ourselves, but halfway through, we'd probably get bored and go the other way. I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Like those dogs in the agility courses, the ones that just don't quite get it. All right, well there you go, Madison.
Wait,
somewhere...
let me do one.
Oh,
let me do one more. The high jumping, I thought, was the most unusual thing, and I think it's a tie between psychiatry and neurology, because every single one of them had the most unusual tick before they did their thing, like weird smiles, weird facial grimaces, and then every single one of them talked to themselves and like laughed at themselves. So they were either all clinically insane or they were just unusual. So psychiatry or neurology.
Madison, I hope you have enough to work with there. We can take those. You can take those non-medical opinions. You can apply them however you wish to life. Match if you agree with those matchups of those specialties. I hope that's helpful. And for any other listeners out there, we are still looking for those questions. Please send them in. The well is getting a little shallow, and I try not to confabulate questions. So you want to send us something, go down to our show notes or send us a question through our website, www.poorhistorianspod.com. And we got a little form on there. You can do so. We'll use it on the show. I think it's time to talk about what Mike wants to talk about tonight.
Mike wants to talk about Mike. Iron Mike. The
Mike
original
on Mike.
Iron Mike.
The original. Okay, all right.
It's
And by the way,
Mike
Mike, I don't
Tyson.
know if you knew this, but we have our longtime fan Jay to thank for this suggestion. Yes. I had never heard of this story.
I hadn't either, and it's everywhere. I mean, there's tons of stories about this guy, and no one of the stories is the same. So it makes it hard to put together a story for you. But some seemingly reputable sources, and they're just like all over the place and whatever. There are details that are unimportant to us because we're only here for the brain meat and potatoes. So yeah, Mike Malloy was an Irish immigrant.
No.
Yeah. What?
Born, we think, in 1873, possibly.
Are you considering yourself, like when you say we think, is that a royal we? Like you and every
royal
other
we,
person who speaks on the subject?
Yes. Well, every other person on the planet.
Okay.
That is currently alive or had been at one point alive and who may at some point be alive.
Okay.
We all believe that Mike Malloy does not have a birth date. We know he has a death date. That was some 60 odd years after his birth date, we think. So yeah, Mike the Durable, Iron Mike, Irish Rasputin, Rasputin of the Bronx. Those are all his nicknames in the papers. This is one of the dumbest stories I've ever read, but very compelling and interesting, but also just so stupid. But it sounds like it might have been a thing of the day. Anyway, so I don't know why this is important, but everybody says that he's from Donegal, County Donegal. I don't know, it must be a county. And
it is a county in Ireland. I have not been there. But I've
is
been
there anything notable?
There.
Yeah, that comes from Donegal?
Sidebar, I just want to say I like that they call it County Donegal and not Donegal County. It just makes it sound more fun.
That is true. That is how they say it. That is how they say it. I've been to like County Galway and County Kerry and County Clare and all that stuff. So
County Clare, just Clare County.
No, it's County Clare.
Yeah, County Cork. I heard of that one before too.
There you go. So I don't know off the top of my head any other famous folks from Donegal, so I can't help you there.
I didn't look it up in my research, but he immigrated to New York City. Here's where some of the things get different amongst the stories, like what he did for a profession. In the present moment, where our story begins, he's homeless and jobless.
Okay.
But It
That
looks
ain't
like,
good.
yeah, he was a former firefighter and then a stationary engineer. So I don't know if that means that he did engineering while standing or if he made paper. I still don't know.
I had to ask you about that too. Yeah, I don't.
So yeah, when he was at the lows of the lows, he would frequent because yeah, we'll get into it, but he would frequent the speakeasy owned by a guy named Tony Marino.
Okay.
Marino was essentially just like he was selling bootlegged whiskey because this is during Prohibition. So just as a recap,
Oh, I'm
from
sorry.
our
You said
alcohol talk.
1903. So he was, or sorry, born 1908. So that,
1873.
man,
Died in
I'm
1933.
confused. That's my fault. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So yeah, Prohibition was 1920 to 1933.
Okay.
So in February 1933, so the month of Iron Mike's death, Congress passed the 21st Amendment and it wasn't ratified until December of 1933. So at this point, alcohol is still illegal, but the speakeasies are the way that people go to drink.
Yeah,
Oh,
well, I mean,
gotcha.
if alcohol is illegal, then how do they get it?
Yeah, well, they're drinking bootlegged whiskey.
Oh,
Yeah, interesting. The last state, so there was a race at the end. I didn't know this. It was just like an interesting aside, but they're trying to overturn prohibition. It's widely supported by Congress, by the most of the public. So all the states come through, and then the last state to ratify, because it was either a third or 2/3 of the state to ratify the amendment to make it a part of the Constitution.
Mhm.
The Utah got in just before Ohio.
wow.
They wanted,
That is
which is
surprising.
interesting, right? Because I feel like
Yeah.
Utah, majority of it's dry.
I wasn't entirely sure Utah had alcohol even to this day.
Yeah, I think you can.
No, you
Yeah,
can't.
it was
but
different though,
It's
Max. You go to
very-
different
it's
states,
hard.
even Minnesota. I remember going on a hockey tournament. I think I might have told this story. I just wanted to go get some beer and hang out. So I go to the grocery store.
And you were
Nothing.
in middle school at the time.
Yeah. We live in a state where it is accessible.
Well, we used to have it. Yeah, no kidding. Wisconsin accessible, but yeah, we used to have in Colorado. They had 3-2 beer for. I don't know. I don't think they still do. But liquor stores were closed on Sundays, and then the only thing you could buy legally on Sundays was 3-2 beer. So it was like light beer, and. So what you would typically do, especially in college there, you stock up on Saturday, and then be like, oh no, we forgot to go get beer for Sunday. And we got to drink 3-2. And we just had this like stance, like, we're not going to do it. And granted, you just drink more of it and you still get your same result, but
Just with a lot more urination.
Yeah, that's true. Better hydration. Probably. Well, I don't know.
Okay. So Mike, down on his luck, homeless, doesn't have a job, maybe doing odd jobs for Tony Marino at his speakeasy.
He's in the gig economy.
Yeah. So Tony Marino, he didn't really have a good business model. So he's selling bootlegged whiskey, stuff that people really want. But the people that were drinking his bootlegged whiskey didn't really have a lot of means to pay him because it's kind of during the Depression as well. Tons of people run up really high tabs and he's kind of down on his luck. Although some people, like some reports, like, oh, he was like making lots of money. I doubt that he was. So this Malloy kept coming in. He ran his tab up. He would sometimes pay, but often wouldn't. And then he would just get drunk and pass out on the end of the bar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can you even do that nowadays? Like walk in, just like put it on my tab and then not pay it for months at a time? Does any bar
Maybe
let you
some
do that?
Places. Yeah, maybe some like
a little
places
local
way out.
towny bar?
Yeah, if it's like locally owned and like everybody knows everybody, I would think so.
Like I know.
Not in Chicago.
Yeah, right. No. Or if your head touches the bar, like, get out, you're overserved.
Yeah.
So July of 1932, again, Tony Marino's down on his luck. He's got a buddy named Francis Pasqua. Maybe it's Francois Pasqua. I don't know.
It's probably true.
And then Daniel Kreisberg. They're all just sitting at the bar and they're looking down at Tony and they're like, Tony, he comes in here, he drinks, doesn't pay his tab, and he drinks a lot.
Wait, they're looking at Tony or looking at Mike?
They're looking at Tony. Or sorry, looking at Mike. They're looking at Mike. Yeah, Tony, those guys are having a conversation. Francis turns out that he's an undertaker, and he's looking at Mike. And he's like, that guy doesn't have long to live.
Wait, okay, sorry. Undertaker in my head, I only learned that in wrestling. What's an undertaker in real life?
But that's all you need to know.
I know. I knew you were going to say that, Max.
They do like death prepreparation. They embalm people. Oh, like a funeral home type person.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
So yeah, he's like, this guy doesn't have long to live. For knowing my job, I see these guys all the time. They hatch this plan, which is kind of dumb. They say that Francis had the idea, but it turns out Tony had already done something like this before. So
interesting.
So
No.
Francis was like, we can make some money off this guy. He's going to die anyway. Let's take out a life insurance policy on him and, make some money when he dies. Like, he's going to die anyway.
Well, but that's true of every single human being on Earth. You can't parse that logic to.
Oh, I know.
It's unfair.
Yeah, I know. This is petty criminal logic, though.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. In the Depression, everybody's trying to make some money.
Yeah, in his situation, like, again, Mike doesn't know when he was born. He knows where he was born. He kind of knows where he is right now. He doesn't have any family, doesn't have any friends. So they looked at him as a perfect target. Like, nobody's going to miss him when he's gone.
I feel bad for Mike. I like Mike already.
Right? Oh, this is a feel bad for Mike story. It gets
good.
even worse. Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so this Francis guy, they say that he had the idea, but Tony Marino had already done this. He's married and he was dating this lady who had alcohol problems, and he ended up like killing her and collecting a life insurance policy on her that he had taken out. Made $2,000 then, which is probably about $60,000. And that
So
times money.
this is Tony, the bar owner, the owner of the speakeasy.
Tony, the
had
bar
already
owner,
killed his wife.
Yeah. And so wouldn't it be kind of funny that this Francis guy's like, hey, maybe you should take out an insurance policy on this guy and then kill him? Like, oh my God, that's a great idea. Oh, wait, I already did this. Like, not too long ago.
I kind of feel like Tony had this idea a little bit.
Yeah, Tony was like, no, it wasn't my idea. It was the Undertaker's idea. And I will.
Right. I think the reason why the story is a little bit confusing, just realizing it now, is that at the end during the trial, everybody was pointing fingers at everybody else.
Wait, somebody gets caught for doing this?
Yeah, that was a
spoilers.
Okay, so these guys, they're doing their Avengers Assemble version of the murder trust. That's what they're called in the paper.
Oh, I was like, they actually branded themselves? That's pretty awesome.
They didn't brand themselves. No,
Okay.
they called themselves the Wet Bandits, but it didn't stick.
Wait, what?
Wait, hold on. The Wet
Are you being
Bandits?
serious?
It's
like
from Home Alone.
Okay. I was like, no way.
So Tony Marino is the head guy. Francis Pasqua. I think these two are the ones in cahoots. There's a fruit
so which
salesman.
one's Joe Pesci?
Yeah, that's so. I think Joe Pesci is Tony Marino.
Okay.
And then I can't recall his name right now, but he's Francis Pasqua. And then
Jeff Daniels.
No, it's not Jeff Daniels.
I know, but I wanted to be.
Daniel Kreisberg. He's a fruit salesman. All these guys, married, children, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's a third. He's in the speakeasy. He's like, yeah, I want to be a part of this, because they're all looking at do relatively little work. Red Murphy's the bartender. And then you get a couple guys that are in and out of the story, but not really heavily involved. You got John McNally, Edward Tin Ear Smith, and Tin Ear had a wax ear. I don't know why they didn't just call him Wax Ear Smith. You got Tough Tony Bastoni and Joseph
You're
Maglione.
making stuff up.
Then you got
Bastoni means clubs, if anybody's curious.
Ooh,
I was curious.
Clubs like
got Angel Hair Rigatoni, got Masta Choli, and then there was
I feel
Giorgio Parmigiano.
I know that you're on a limb with the last couple, but I feel like once you involve more than 4 to 5 people in your murder trust, you're going to have problems.
Yeah, well, you will see that play out. But that's now we've got our murder trust is up to 8. Again, we've got a couple A players, a couple B players, a couple bench players. So anyway, so they come up with this idea.
I have a question, and I think it's important. You can take out a life insurance policy on somebody that you're not related to.
No, you can't.
Okay.
Here's
what? I was like, you just random be like, that guy that comes and passes out in my bar, I want insurance for him.
I thought you could too back then, but so it turns out that so Tony tries this at first, and he's like, I want to get this guy Mike Malloy, I want to take a life insurance policy.
I'm worried about him. I want him to have insurance.
Yeah, right? So he ships it out to, or he's shopping at a couple companies. They all decline his request because they're like, you're not related to him.
Okay.
So then they make up a guy, Nicholas Mallory, and then so what Francis says like, listen, I'm an undertaker. I know a lot of medical examiners. I'll falsify some records. I'll get this guy's name to be Nicholas Mallory on the death certificate, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
So then they go back. Now they're insuring. So Red is apparently the fake nephew of Nicholas Mallory, and Red takes out the policy. So he takes 3 policies, a total. Now each man in the trust was supposed to make about $3,500. That's of the 4 though. So like
In old-timey money
65,000
or in modern
No,
money?
65,000 in modern money,
Okay.
What?
which isn't that much money, right?
No, that's not.
But per person?
To kill somebody?
Well, I mean,
$65,000?
what's your
Per
number,
person.
Alba? What
I
point
don't
do you
know, but
justify
it's not $65,000.
Okay, just want to know.
That's barely going to deal with student loans. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, so they get 3 policies. I don't remember the companies. Everybody lists the companies. I don't think it matters. But what's interesting is the science behind this. And again,
The science behind life insurance?
the science behind what they're trying to do to this guy.
Okay.
But
Oh,
if
boy.
they would have listened to this podcast, they would have been able to do the deed, I'm guessing, within 3 days. Anyway, okay. So he survived in the papers anywhere. The range is anywhere between 5 and 9 murder attempts. But I think we're settling in around 5. So plan is set. They've got the life insurance. They're like, okay, how are we going to do this? And they say, we're going to let him drink himself to death. Francis already said this guy's on death's door. He hasn't paid his tab. So like, you know what? You come in and you get to drink for free. So they would just never let his cup be empty. Every time he would drink, pour more bootleg whiskey. And I think it was on the 3rd day of doing this, they're all starting to get a little frustrated. They're like, what the heck's going on? He drinks to the point where he passes out, falls down. They're like checking for a pulse. They think he's dead, not breathing. Then they start snoring. And then, after his nap, he wakes up and like wants more whiskey.
Okay.
So, like, this is going to take way too long.
Like, I get the logic where they were going with it, but yeah, it's not. I agree. It's probably not going to work. I mean, not to give notes. It seems weird to give notes on something like this. But...
Yeah, to say like you could have done a better job.
Yeah, but then during the time, they, I'm sure they saw people drink themselves to death. It's almost like there wasn't a whole lot of thought behind like what is actually precipitating this death. Is it just like you're drinking to the point where you're comatose? But if this guy already was a professional drinker up to this point, you honestly think you're going to be able to get him to tip the scales?
One of the things that when you hear those really tragic stories about people, like especially college students who have too much, have alcohol poisoning, as they typically will write, what ends up happening is if that you're at least relatively alcohol naive, or you have an immense quantity at once before you pass out and cannot physically drink anymore. One of the ways that it actually leads to death, there's kind of 2 ways. One, it can depress your breathing enough to do so, but one kind of sneaky way is that it causes your blood sugar to drop to like nothing, because your body has so much alcohol to burn. It fluctuates your metabolism so that you just do not release sugar, and you just use up all the sugar that's around. You just don't make more. It's kind of one of those things. But if you're like him and you are somebody who drinks a fair amount every day, that's not going to be something that's likely to happen. So their attempt number 1 was physiologically, unless they were going to try to wait out the scarring of the liver and cirrhosis, that's going to take more than a few days. And these don't seem like the most patient people.
Well, they're not, because I think the premiums were pretty high. So they're paying the premiums on this policy. So they wanted to maximize their investment. They need
it's fair.
ASAP.
Some kind of ratio, I'm sure they calculated.
Yeah, so this is a really great time to talk about normal alcohol metabolism. Ethanol is the alcohol that we're talking about. 90% of it's immediately broken down by the liver. 10% is excreted in the urine, the sweat. So alcohol dehydrogenase metabolizes alcohol into acetaldehyde, which is a carcinogen. Then acetaldehyde is broken down by acetaldehyde dehydrogenase into acetic acid, so like kind of like vinegar. It's ultimately broken down into carbon dioxide and water.
Okay.
So that's kind of normal alcohol metabolism. It'll be important for their next try.
Which one of those do the gas station pills help with?
Boners.
Should have saw that one coming.
Oh no, they're gas
Hangover
station
pills.
Hangover pills. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, I don't think they do
supposed
anything.
to help with something. So so you said you drink alcohol, 10% goes out through sweat and urine, and then the other 90% is processed into all those different forms that you just described.
Then ultimately down into carbon dioxide and water. Yep.
Okay, cool.
So then, he didn't die. 3 days go by. They get antsy. They're like, you know what? Let's speed up this process. So then they suggested that they would give him wood alcohol. Plus, they're running out of money. Like the bootleg whiskey was kind of expensive. Wood alcohol you could get at the hardware store.
Made wood alcohol in my like middle school chemistry class.
So wood alcohol is methanol. So yeah, methanol is that highly toxic alcohol that we talked about a couple episodes ago.
Oh yeah, good.
Yeah, it's like ethanol, but really bad.
Oh yeah, that's the part you don't want to drink. That's like
right. That was the angel share. If you are distilling, you'll get a little bit of methanol, but yeah, if you heat up wood and then like capture the smoke and cool it, it basically forms methanol.
Wow.
Yeah, so the reason why I brought up the metabolism pathway is because methanol is broken down similarly. About the same percent is going to get metabolized right away. And then alcohol dehydrogenase takes methanol and turns it into formaldehyde. And we know that we use formaldehyde to embalm people, and that's not very good. So then aldehyde dehydrogenase converts formaldehyde to formic acid and formate, and that doesn't go anywhere.
You know, my favorite factoid about formic acid is? It's this ant acid. Like it's crushed up ants juice. That's how like formic acid got its name, which is kind of gross. But I remember learning that in chemistry. It's like formic acid came from, they crushed up ants, a juice came out, and they're like, oh, this is an acid. I don't know why ants have so much formic acid, but there you go. So
yeah, the methanol, we can get methanol now. Each one of us uses it in the winter if we live in a harsh climate, but it's in windshield washer fluid.
That's right. Yeah. And then how did it does it fries your eyeballs.
I'm getting there, Max.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought, all right. I'm sorry. Cool.
So we know now that it creates formic acid, and so methanol is toxic in two different ways. So it's a sedative like alcohol. So you could potentially die because you're too sedate because you're intoxicated. And it's also metabolized to formic acid, which gets into your mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. Okay. And it causes hypoxia at the cellular level. Essentially, just like it uncouples all your energy production and then also fries your optic nerve. That's at lower doses.
So it higher doses, your cells.
Yeah, you literally stop breathing before your lungs stop breathing.
Think about that. Here's an analogy. I came up with this analogy just a second. Like if the mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cells, like it's a generator powering your house, right? And then this substance comes in, it unhooks the generator. So the generator just keeps running, but then it fills up your house with like carbon monoxide. I don't know why the generator's in the house now in this story. So that's the part I got to work on.
It was a bad contractor. Yeah.
It was. Maybe the exhaust, it unhooks the exhaust and it puts it back into the house. I don't know. Okay, the analogy is bad now that I laid it out there, but you can see where I was trying to go with it.
It kills you billions of times over in tiny little ways. It's like getting stabbed 10 billion times.
All the little powerhouses are basically unhooked.
For
the formic acid.
Formic acid. Oh, okay, cool.
So ingesting as little as 1/3 of an ounce can cause blindness. Again, it rots away your optic nerve. And then the lethal dose is 3.4 ounces. And a shot is 2 ounces.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, I think 1.5 ounces is supposed to be.
Yeah, about 1.5 ounces to 2, I believe. You're right.
So Mike Malloy is drinking shot after shot of wood alcohol.
Okay.
And kind of likes the taste. You know, they warmed him up with some whiskey, and then now just shot after shot, and they're like, this is going to do it. This is going to do it.
Oh, no.
And he doesn't die, and nothing happens. He's drunk, but he doesn't die.
But his mitochondria don't suffocate?
Yeah, but you know what? The thing is that these guys aren't emergency physicians, and they don't know what we know. So we know, like modern day, the treatment is this drug called fomepizole. So let's say you drink methanol and then you come into the emergency department and you're like, I drink methanol and I don't want to go blind and I don't want to die. So you use this drug called fomepizole, which can help block the alcohol dehydrogenase. So then methanol is just excreted in the urine. So you just pee out 100% of the methanol. None of it ever goes to formaldehyde and nothing happens to you.
Because this is like the ethanol episode we did, and I was talking about like you keep your liver busy with this other stuff so that it's alcohol. Yeah. It's 80 alcohol dehydrogenase can't work on making the toxins. So
dialysis can work, but also ethanol. So ethanol is a treatment. So if you suspect somebody that's got a methanol overdose, alcohol dehydrogenase loves ethanol more than methanol, so it binds ethanol preferentially. So it's going to metabolize that down into carbon dioxide and in water.
Yeah.
rather than formic acid. So the treatment of methanol overdose is ethanol.
Especially if you don't have our new fancy drugs.
So a blood alcohol of anywhere between 100 and 150 completely saturates your alcohol dehydrogenase.
Alba has she just made a face.
I think I just got it. So, okay, so you drink methanol and it's going to scramble your stuff. But the treatment, if you know it, is okay, well, we're going to give you regular alcohol because you had the bad kind, and that's going to, then your liver's going to metabolize the regular alcohol. So does that mean that by them giving him the regular alcohol to begin with, they stopped the wood alcohol?
They gave him the antidote to his poisoning before they poisoned him.
Wow.
Yeah. So blood alcohol of anywhere between 100 and 150 completely saturates alcohol dehydrogenase. So the methanol was never going to ever take hold in the system.
I'm proud of myself that I
that was good
enough to. I mean, I also have to say I'm every episode, but also especially in this one, amazed that y'all remember this stuff. Like, it's so complicated. It is so complicated.
If we don't remember it, they threaten us with violence, and they being the Board of Emergency Medicine.
Right.
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
But I mean, this
you also like we get that we see this
incredibly complicated.
These are things that we learn not just once. We learn and then we revisit and we revisit and we revisit so many times. So it eventually does stick. But we've also I've seen, I think, one methanol case in my career. It's not super common, but we see it, and then when you see it, it reinforces it. So that's how we remember some of these things.
Yeah. So modern day, we're going to use IV stuff, but if you don't have an IV, there is a protocol for delivering alcohol to somebody for methanol poisoning. And this is, Max, I think where you thought there was antifreeze, it was really wood alcohol.
Gotcha.
Same difference.
In
right?
this
it's going to
case,
act the same. Yeah. Or similar. But so the protocol is 3 to 4 1-ounce shots of 80 proof liquor, and then 1 to 2 shots per hour, and I think most likely for a couple days.
Oof,
now that's a hospital stay I could get behind.
I don't, God, it'd be the worst hangover though. Ugh.
It would. A 3-day drunk. Oh my God. Anyway, okay, so this doesn't work. Methanol doesn't kill him. And they're like, what the heck? And everywhere, even on the Wikipedia page, they're like, there have been some people that have survived methanol poisoning in history. And then it's like Mike Malloy. Turns out he didn't. He just got the antidote to the poison before he got the poison.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, their initial attempts are pretty bad.
Yep. Okay. So that's attempt number 2. Attempt number 3 is poison food. They're starting to get more and more ticked off. Significant amounts of time have gone by. Some premiums have gone out. They're like, this is costing us more. We're not even going to make money on this deal.
Poor guy.
Well, they weren't going to make that much to begin with, but now.
Right. So one of the guys remembers he saw a guy at a bar once who died, and he was eating oysters and drinking. So he's like, if you eat oysters and drink, you'll probably die. So then they took these oysters, but rather than just giving them to him, they soaked them in denatured alcohol.
Okay.
Which is got ethanol, methanol, and they've got stuff in it. They use this for like alcohol burners for fuel. They put some stuff in it, makes it taste nasty, called denatonium or detonatonium. So it tastes gross. So they essentially like marinated the oysters in this, and then they gave it to him, just ate them.
But okay, I've had oysters once in my life, and how would you know they were poisoned or not? They were gross.
I know. Put a little Tabasco on it. I don't think Tabasco was invented yet.
So I learned a fact that I never fact checked, but I've tried oysters once, so I'm not going to go back. I'm good on those. The fact that I learned was that they technically, if they are fresh, they are alive at the time that you eat them, and then basically you're eating a living oyster.
You eat them to death.
You eat them to death, and so that's reason number 2.
That's why you don't chew them, so they can die slowly over 1,000 years.
Maybe that's the problem.
Okay, so the oysters didn't work. So
I thought I thought you were trying to get at they were gonna try to food poison him, like he'll just have a really bad stomach bug on top of all this.
No, they thought that too. Yeah, they thought if they made him like sick and they gave him indigestion, but this is how they wanted to do that. The oysters didn't work.
Maybe they were thinking that he was going to get Vibrio vulnificus, the bacterial infection that causes like necrotizing fasciitis and limb loss.
You'd have to get it on your skin.
But no, you eat from consuming seafood. It is like largest cause of seafood eating related deaths is like 95% of them are getting Vibrio from bad oysters and shellfish.
All right. Well, thanks. That's one more thing for me to worry about.
So maybe they were trying to play those odds. And come on, 1920s and 1930s seafood standards can't be that great.
Who knows? I mean, it's New York, so they could have been pretty fresh. So let me get to the next thing they tried to poison him with Max.
Wait, so the oysters didn't bother him at all? He was like, tasty.
Yeah,
that was it?
didn't bother him at all. So then
Let's try 3, okay?
Yeah, so then they made him sardine sandwiches, but they let the sardines cure out for a long time until they spoiled. Put them on just wait. Can you, Albert? Can you?
Desperate at this point.
Can you guess what else they put on the sandwiches?
Methanol.
Nope. They would be non-food item. Thumbtacks.
What?
Yes, actually carpet tacks.
Oh, well, that's different.
So carpet tacks are those little nails. Yeah, they're centimeter long, maybe centimeter and a half, to hold the tack strips down.
I'm gonna notice that in my food, but I guess
he didn't.
Our friend Mike was drunk enough.
Yep.
Not to.
Yeah, carpet tacks, tin shavings from the can from the sardines that they left out in glass, and they fed that to him.
So
and then he ate the sandwich, and he's like, "Can I have another one?"
No, he didn't. Did he?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, it can't.
Didn't bother him at all.
So, could those things? I guess those things could definitely do some damage, right?
No,
like
not really. Think about when we see. Yeah, if you see an ingested sharp foreign body, really and who knows, maybe the volume would be there.
That's
I
what
couldn't remember the length, but depending on the length, you're just worried about it getting hung up on the ileocecal valve. So like the valve from the small bowel to the colon.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like anything under 2.5 inches was most likely going to pass on its own, may perforate something.
Bunch of aluminum shavings. Maybe it would just do like a lot of mucosal or surface damage, perhaps.
Yeah.
And the other thing that makes me think the glass might have worked is like, did you ever see that show Oz on HBO, like the prison drama?
I mean, I know of it.
Oh, there's like this one where they want to get back. They want to kill this one dude, so they like put a bunch of glass in his food, and it totally works. So I don't see why it didn't work here.
Yeah, I thought I gotta say, as someone who learned medicine from TV shows, I definitely thought eating glass would kill you like instantly. There are a lot of things that I thought would kill you instantly that it turns out wouldn't.
No, I mean we can make a list for you though, Elba.
Yeah, it reminded me of that Dumb and Dumber scene when they give that guy his indigestion pills. He just dies immediately. They probably thought that was going to happen.
Yeah.
All right, so that didn't work. So now we're on to attempt 4. Actually, yeah, it's 5 attempts. Okay, so 4. Freeze him to death. So
that's probably the best idea they had so far, I guess.
So this is what Tony that with the prior experience with taking out a life insurance policy and killing somebody, he's like, oh duh, what I did was that like I got this lady really drunk and I put her like next to my window in the winter time and I poured a bunch of water on her and she froze. Like she died of pneumonia. Dude. So what they did is they got him drunk. They drove him about a half a mile away from the speakeasy. They put him in a park, shoved him in a snowbank, took his shirt off, poured a bunch of water on him, and left. And here's where the reports get a little dicey. He either showed back up at the speakeasy 30 minutes later or went to the hospital and showed up the next day. But he just said he had a wee bit of a chill. So then like they gave him dry clothes and he just started drinking again.
So I have a weird story about hypothermia. We did a whole episode on hypothermia. We won't go back through all of it. But yeah, I mean, it is fairly dangerous to like lower your body temperature by doing the things they did. And honestly, if you were trying to induce hypothermia, I think they had a reasonable approach to it, right?
Oh my God, what if he had a fatal heart rhythm, but he had been hypothermic and didn't suffer any physiologic damage from
That's probably unlikely, but maybe. But yeah, so that's what, as you're alluding to, like as your body cools, it changes a lot of the chemistry. It changes a lot of the ions that help your heart.
I wasn't going to know the difference, Max, between electrons and ions.
Electrons. Oh my God. Ugh. Where did you go to school?
I try to be precise. So as the ions shift in and out and cause your heart rhythm and electricity to flow, those would be electrons. when you get really, really, really cold and your body temperature drops dangerously low, one of the risks is that like almost any insult, you like shake a person or move them or pick them up, put them on a gurney, is they can go into a deadly heart rhythm. And so we did that whole episode a long time ago about using hypothermia to prolong somebody's life after we do CPR on them. But this is a little bit different because nobody assumes that they're going to find poor Mike out there in the field. The second anecdote I have about hypothermia is a weird one from way back in the past. When I was in middle school and we watched To Build a Fire, the Jack London story. We watched like a short film about it. It's like a guy who's in the woods and he's just trying to build a fire and he slowly freezes to death. Because I mean, spoiler alert. Sorry if you were waiting to read that one, but he freezes to death. And I just remember my middle school teacher, who I'm sure is probably long gone now, but she was like, I kind of want to freeze to death. And we all like kind of in class were like, what? And she had this whole thing about how she's like, you know what? I think I've been thinking about it, and that would be like one of the best ways to go. So that's a weird thing that she instilled in my childhood and probably made me the person I am today. She's a weird lady.
Yeah, I don't know that that's something that I would pick.
No, she had a point. She's just like,
it's not.
sleep,
Yeah, it's not.
You know.
It's not high on. There's not low on the list.
No,
like
fair. Your teachers never shared like that kind of stuff with you. Is that just me?
No, it sounds like you probably needed to report your teacher.
I mean, in retrospect,
do you
probably.
need some therapy after? Or?
Yes, but
it would totally be
that.
on TikTok nowadays. Oh my God, my teacher.
It's a true story. I remember now I look back at it as you're saying that. I'm like, that was a weird thing to share with your class.
All right, so the hypothermia didn't kill him. Now, Tough Tony is starting to get ticked, and Tough Tony's got a short fuse, and Tough Tony says, like, let me just shoot him in the head.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for somebody to say that because that is a lot.
But the thing is, it needs to be an accident. Like if he's murdered, they're worried that they're not going to collect their money.
Right.
Yeah,
so they decide to, what do you think the next thing would be?
Well, we've tried a lot of other things. I mean, I think
electrocution.
Ooh, we haven't tried that.
Sorry, because we tried poisoning. Wait, I didn't. They tried poisoning, alcohol poisoning, and food poisoning, freezing to death, internal bleeding from the food. Yeah. What else? Yeah.
Bad sardines, oysters.
Bad sardines, yeah.
Okay,
I would say electrocution.
I mean, it's honestly a pretty reasonable next idea.
Blunt force trauma it is.
Oh, okay.
All right, so then...
I'll be your natural.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, we know it's going to take a lot of money for me to do it, but okay.
I don't know that everybody in the day had a car. They probably didn't. And so they hired a cab driver, Harry Green. So Harry Green
They're bringing too many people into the circle, Mike.
There's so many
Harry
people.
Harry Green is now the 9th member of the murder trust. Oh, God. Harry Green comes in and they're like, hey, could you just hit this guy with a car? And he's like, okay, $150 and I'll do it.
That's not enough.
Wait, in modern money or then money?
Then money.
Okay.
It still can't be enough.
Yeah, but hey, again, it's the Depression, and money's money, right? Fine, I'll hit him. True. So they get Mike really drunk again. They drag him out into the street, and then Harry pulls up with his cab. He's aimed. It's not in front of the speakeasy. It's some other side street. And Mike is so drunk that they have to hold him up. So Mike's standing in their street. There's one person on either arm trying to hold him up, and Harry like guns it and is driving right for him.
So he's going like 5 miles an hour in a Model T.
They said 40. They said 45. I doubt that it was 45. I'm guessing it's probably 20 to 30.
Maybe he was aimed downhill.
Yeah. So he like at the last second sobers up enough to jump out of the way. So he jumps out of the way. He drives by, he misses, turns around. Let's try this again. Misses again.
No.
Finally turns around, hits him on the. I think they hit him on the third attempt. He said he heard a hard bump and a soft bump. And so a light turned on down the street and they're like, oh, somebody's going to find us. So everybody scatters. They leave, come back to the scene later. Mike's not there. They assume he's dead. So then that Red, who was supposed to be his uncle, is calling around looking for Nicholas Malloy. And there's no record of Nicholas Malloy in any hospital, but it's not his name. It's Mike Malloy. But they were calling Nicholas Malloy because So
Yeah, because the fake policy was under that name.
correct.
But Mike probably. So you're gonna probably say what happened, but I'm guessing he knows his name isn't Nicholas Malloy.
Right. Again, this is where the story gets kind of like messed up, and we think they just didn't
This
know.
is where
So
it's
they didn't
messed
know.
up.
So in the meantime, they're like, we need to find somebody that looks like Mike and kill him so we can collect this insurance money.
It's
So
a
then they-
bad fix.
Yeah. So then they find another guy, and they're like, man, that guy's a spitting image of Mike. And then I think they killed him the same way, like with the cab driver, or else he didn't die. But
They charge him again?
They hit two guys with a car. And they ran away because another light turns on. So they go back, the body's not there. They're like, what luck.
Two missing bodies.
Yeah, and I think it's either 5 days or several weeks later. I'm favoring several weeks because of his injuries, but Mike Malloy walks into the speakeasy and he's like, hey guys, you'll never guess what happened. I was drinking at the bar and I saw this bright light and I have no idea what happened. Like, he doesn't even know. And like, he's telling the story like he's their friend. It gets kind of sad, like.
Well, I mean, he has no idea they've been trying to kill him this entire time.
No idea.
This poor dude is just trying to drink his problems away, like a lot of
everybody
us,
at the bar knows what they're doing. Like, because their murder trust is 9 people.
Yeah.
So
there is probably a group of bar patrons that are like not directly involved that have a pool on this, because that's just how people
like
are.
A Deadpool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, they said skull fracture. I'm assuming he had like a subarachnoid or a subdural hematoma. He had some other serious head injury.
Different kinds of bleeding on the brain.
Yeah, because they said concussion, but they wouldn't have done any scans. And then he broke his shoulder, right shoulder.
No.
So he gets there, and then Tough Tony is like, "I've had enough. We need to finish this." So this is where it gets like really gross. So they're like, all right, we just need to kill him. This is nothing's working. We've tried 5 times. So the 6th attempt is they rent a hotel room that they know, because electricity now is being kind of put in the city, but there's a hotel room that still uses gas lights. So they get him drunk, check him into a hotel under Nicholas Malloy, put him in the hotel room. They take a hose from the gas light and then they shove it into his mouth and wrap his head with toilets, and he dies of suffocation from carbon monoxide poisoning.
They wrap his head with what?
Like towels.
Oh, towels.
Toilets.
Yeah, I heard toilets.
So he dies. Yeah, dies on the 22nd. I think buried on the 23rd. They're at the insurance company on the 24th.
Right.
Requesting money.
They want to grieve for at least 12 hours. I get it.
Yeah. So one company pays him out $800, goes to
No questions asked.
No questions asked. Tony Marino and Francis Pasqua get the money. So the 800, they split the 400. They both buy new suits. And then they go to the second insurance company and they're like, well, we want to see the body. And they're like, this is...
Wait, the first insurance company didn't want any proof? They're just like, yep,
no proof.
Take your word for it.
As far as we know from the story, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, second insurance company wants to see the body. So this Pasqua, the Francis guy, he had a friend who was a physician that was willing to like sign off on a death certificate. So he just said he died of lobar pneumonia, and they, buried him right away. Autopsy was declined. So, and that, no questions asked except for this insurance company. So they start to have some questions about it, but it doesn't the police aren't aware of it until an issue at the speakeasy. So Tough Tony Bastoni, the guy that wanted to shoot him, is fighting with this guy named Joseph Maglione. He was another one, we think.
If you told me you were making names up as we went, I would be okay with
that,
it.
Yeah,
no, these are actual. I mean, these are, as far as I know from my internet search, but and there was a book written about it.
Okay.
So they're arguing about money, and Joseph Maglione shoots Tough Tony dead at the speakeasy.
It's kind of deserved that one.
Yeah, police come. They arrest Joseph Maglione for murder of Tough Tony Bastoni. Edward Tinier Smith disappears from the story. And then Red Murphy, who's the bartender, who was supposed to be the nephew.
Is that Eric Foreman's dad?
Yeah, no. So he is at the bar,
different
and
Red.
he's arrested as a material witness in this case and whatever. So then they start talking. There's whispering. After this, the police are asking questions of patrons, and they uncover this murder thing. And, Mike Malloy, and they've got this dead Nicholas Malloy. And that's when the case starts to open up. So is the insurance company kind of like balked a little bit. this episode happens with the murder, and then they start looking into this thing. They exhumed Mike's body 10 months after he was killed.
That means they dug him up?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and they did an autopsy, and they determined that he died from carbon monoxide poisoning.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to figure out, because they're like, well, they did level. They couldn't do levels or anything like that. But
yeah, that way.
on autopsy, your skin is going to look healthy. Oh, and the other thing too, the Undertaker didn't embalm him, which may have covered their tracks a little bit. But so
because
he
he
looked
didn't?
healthy because he didn't. Yeah, his skin was pink because he had a bunch of carboxyhemoglobin in his skin.
Can you explain how that works a little bit?
Yeah.
Just the carbon monoxide is going to preferentially bind your hemoglobin, which carries oxygen. So just like alcohol binds better to alcohol dehydrogenase, carbon monoxide binds better to hemoglobin than oxygen does.
And then when hemoglobin binds something it likes, it turns red, makes your blood red. So if it
because
binds
you got a bunch
carbon
of free
monoxide,
oxygen.
yeah,
okay.
correct.
So, and he had cherry red muscles. So they're saying like this guy clearly and didn't have any signs of pneumonia, and the rest of the autopsy was normal except probably for chronic liver issues and
chock full of carbon monoxide because he's so pink.
Yep. So then, they changed the death certificate. These guys get charged with murder. So now of the murder trusts, you got they bring the cabbie in. So Henry Green is number one. You get Tony Marino, Daniel Kreisberg, Francis Pasqua, Red Murphy. John McNally, I think, was a snitch, so he turned on the group. He's the one that kind of told them about this stuff. Ed Smith, Tin Ear, Waxier, he drops off. Tough Tony's already dead. And Joe Maglioni's in prison for murder of Tough Tony Bastoni.
I think the easiest answer for them, because they've already stepped in it, they're already caught. Why do they not all just blame Tough Tony? Like, if I have to give notes, why not? Why didn't they?
I'm sure that they tried that. I'm sure that they didn't have the best representation. And law seemed like it was a little bit different back then because these guys get convicted and 4 of the 5 of them are executed almost immediately.
Oh, boy. Okay.
They're all electrocuted.
All right.
So they go to the electric chair. And then, the stories are always like, well, it only took them 1 time to kill these guys. It took them 6 times to kill Mike Malloy.
That's true.
But here's the thing. If they knew the science behind any of this stuff, they would have known that Mike Malloy is an alcoholic. And all they had to do, rather than feed him alcohol, was not let him drink alcohol. And he would have been dead within 72 hours.
I mean, probably at the levels he was drinking, that's probably true.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think these guys were thinkers. I don't think that wasn't their strong suit.
Yeah. So, and he wasn't like some sort of super guy that survived methanol poisoning. He just had the antidote circulating in his system. The car accident was kind of crazy. Like the fact that he survived that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
The freezing, the hypothermia, maybe he just woke
pneumonia,
up and was like, oh God, I got to get out of the snowbank,
I mean, I hate to say it, but I guess if I'm gonna try to find a bright side, here. I feel like the final mode of his death was probably the most humane of all the things they tried.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying it's
quick and painless.
Everything else they put this guy through, man. Like,
well, not the alcohol, because he probably liked that. Drinking for free with his buds.
Yeah, that had such a low yield.
Mm-hmm.
I also can't help but like the seeming cognitive dissonance of the times of like, you'll be death sentence right away if you're caught. Let me murder somebody for $150. I'm going to hit him with my cab.
It's almost.
Oh, but that guy didn't get electrocuted.
Oh, he didn't get
he did,
but still,
he was attempted murder because he didn't die during that episode.
No,
so
true.
He got 10 years.
Still, if you get caught for murder and it's instant chair, it just seems I wouldn't expect them to have done that. To have told so many people, to have included so many people in the plan, and 2, to have done it for such a seeming to me small amount of money.
So you're a proponent of capital punishment, Elba. Interesting.
No, obviously not, because it didn't work. But it clearly didn't work.
Yeah.
So
I do think that is the study outcome when they do look into those things. So there you go. Well, is that what you got, Mike?
That's what I got.
Wow.
No, it's a great story. I mean, great in terms of like interesting and a lot of twists and turns, a lot of physiology, but like bad for Mike Malloy. R.I.P. man. Oof.
Yeah, all right.
Well, he made it into a Primus song.
That's
Did he?
That's something.
There was
No.
apparently a song from Primus, but it wasn't
It's
that
like,
song.
I'm not leaving.
Wasn't Winona. Okay.
That's understandable. All right. Well, I think that about does it. So, Alba, let's do a new bit of whimsy to close out the show, shall we? I think it should be the medical history intern's job to keep our annals o artifacts stocked, the big vault that we built. And by we, I mean Mike built in the very real studio space that we have that we're sitting in with a giant vault door. So, Alba, if you were going to pick something, an artifact from today's show, an object to place in the PH Pod medical history annals, what would it be?
It would be rotting sardine and carpet tack sandwich.
That's what I would have picked too.
That's
I think
what
I
I
would have
think,
picked the
isn't
same.
it?
All right.
Yeah.
I'll try to find a picture of that online and post it on social media. Thanks for an easy one.
Yeah, no problem. The other option was wood alcohol, but that wood alcohol got replaced by the sardine carpet tack sandwich.
Wood alcohol is pretty boring. All right, well, we're putting it in the vault. It's going in the vault. And with that, we appreciate everyone listening, and we'd love to hear from all of you out there. So if you'd like to check out our merchandise or provide feedback, we can be reached through our website, www.poorhistorianspod.com. There you can send us messages and find links to all those social media accounts where we do try to respond to all the posts and all that sort of thing. We do want to thank our patrons once again for helping make the show go on. And if you want to be a special part of that, please check out the Patreon link in our show notes. And a free way to support us is to tell a friend about us or go and leave us one of those nice 5-star reviews on Spotify, iTunes, or whichever platform you choose. And speaking of which, we thought we'd close out. Why don't we just read one of those ones? And we've got a lot of nice ones, and I do appreciate that. We got some not nice ones, and we're not above reading those. But tonight, let's read a nice one. Alba, what do you got over here from the reviewer named Howlin' Dogs?
Emergency physician approved. Like the hosts of this podcast, I'm an emergency physician. The first episode that I listened to was the review of the show The Resident pilot episode, and I couldn't stop laughing. I'll confess that I'm a huge medical history nerd, and this podcast is both fascinating and hysterically funny.
Aww.
Some of the skits do tend to be extremely goofy, but I overall enjoy it greatly, especially when non-EP Alba's reactions are included, and it even serves as a useful review of arcane med school stuff. Gemsa stain, Glanzmann's thrombasthenia. I cannot say this. I cannot say this without cracking up laughing. I must give it the highest praise you can hear from a surgeon. Strong work, guys.
Aww.
Yeah.
That is a nice
Thanks.
review.
Until next time, the Poor Historians are signing out. AMA. Also found out that Alba has a price for killing somebody, which is good to know.
We
And
don't
it's
know what
over
it is, though. We just
$65,000.
know
You just
that,
right.
yeah.
You just said that. You didn't deny that there is one, though.
Oh,
Does that
I
mean
mean,
that-
sure. I would do anything for, the right,
Love?
under
Like
the right
meatloaf?
situations. Yeah, I would do anything for love, but I wouldn't murder for love.
But I
I
won't
wouldn't
do
do that.
that.
I will say, I don't know what my price is, but it's definitely at least enough to pay off student loans. Come on
Okay.
now.
Oh, can we
Alright.
do a Meatloaf cover as a ska band? Boop, bop, boop, bop, boop, bop, boop, bop. Is that ska?
No.
It-
No, we're not gonna do that.
No skas. Right? Yeah.
I can't argue with that, actually.
Actually, yeah, between the two of us, Mike, I think we're a ska band.
Yeah,
We're-
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until next time, the Poor Historians are signing out. AMA.
Wait, we're just reading it? We're not saying anything about it? Other than it's nice.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could just comment on it. It is nice.
That's very
Well,
nice.
I will get a mean one in there. Don't worry. Maybe we'll do a mean one next time. We have some mean ones out there.
I know. I read one. I was like, ooh.
So mad.
Ooh.
So mad. And those will be fun because I think we can really respond to those in our own way.
Yeah.
All right. Until next time, the Poor Historians are signing out. AMA.